Hi, I'm Gail Williford, County Extension Agent in Berkeley County, serving on the Food Systems and Safety team. I'm also the 4-H agent here. I'm so happy that you decided to be a part of our 4-H Cooking Like a Chef Summer Day Camp activity. You'll learn a lot and you'll have fun. Today I'll speak to you about good personal hygiene, kitchen safety, and heat transfer. Let's begin with good personal hygiene. Hand washing is very important when we are working with or handling food. The first step to washing our hands is to wet them with warm or hot water, as hot as you can stand it. Then we're going to apply soap and build up a good lather. So we want to work that soap around and rub our hands together, rub between our fingers on both hands, clean each finger. Take the time to pay attention to our cuticles, and we need to clean under our fingernails. If you have a nail brush at home, that's a good tool to help you do that. So we're going to rub and scrub our hands together for at least 15 seconds. We need to take time to pay attention to our wrist, and we're going to move on up our arms, because there are many times in cooking when we have to reach over or reach across and we may end up touching some other food. So once we've done that, we're going to rinse our hands with clean water and dry our hands with a paper towel. Our hands should be washed before handling food, after handling meats, and before handling raw meats. They need to be washed before and after we handle eggs, seafood, etc. After we've handled produce, we need to wash our hands as well. So there are many chances for us to wash our hands and make sure that we do that to keep the food safe throughout a cooking activity. If we've come in from outside and playing, we need to wash our hands. We need to wash our hands after we've touched our pet, after we've touched anything that's not clean. If we touch our face or scratch our scalp, we need to wash our hands before we go on with our food preparation. Sometimes we have to cough when we're cooking. Make sure you do it into your shoulder, like so. But if you forget, that's fine. Just go ahead and wash your hands. So anytime you think you may have done something that could make your hands dirty again, go wash your hands. Now you know the steps to washing your hands correctly. Make sure that when you're cooking, you wear closed-toe shoes. Tie your shoestrings if you have shoestrings, and make sure that your shoes you're wearing are fitting your feet well, so that you don't have to put yourself in a situation where you might slip and fall. Make sure to bathe every day and wear clean clothing. I'm wearing a necklace. Oh, I forgot to remove my jewelry. If you're wearing jewelry, you need to remove it. We like to play with our jewelry and touch it, and so that's something that we want to not to tempt ourselves with. So we're going to remove that jewelry before we start cooking as well, because I didn't wash and sanitize those. Make sure your fingernails are clean and short. They should also not have polish on them. Polish can chip off and then we can end up eating it. So make sure your fingernails are clean. If you get a cut on your finger, cover it with a bandage, and then you can put a glove on over that. Oh, and never sit on your kitchen counter. We're going to be doing our food preparation there, so we don't want to sit there. We want to make sure that we're giving ourselves the opportunity to have a clean, sanitary surface to work on. When I come back, we'll talk about kitchen safety. Now let's talk about kitchen safety. You've already heard about using a sharp knife. A sharp knife is a safe knife. So when you get ready to start cutting, remember Begin by placing a damp paper towel underneath your cutting board to prevent your board from sliding. Your board, your cutting mat, whichever type you might have, that's going to prevent that board from slipping on you. When opening cans, always use a can opener and cut the entire lid away from the can itself. Once you've done that, it will drop into the can, and you might need to use a dull butter knife or fork or something to remove the lid. I'm going to save this pineapple for your green smoothie recipe. When working with hot pans, we need mitts or pot holders to protect our hands from the heat. So if you have those, you can use them. If you don't have those, a clean dry towel serves just fine. Just make sure that it's dry, because if it's not dry, steam is going to be created once it comes into contact with the hot metal of the pan. So that hot steam is going to give you a burn worse than hot water. So make sure your pot holders or mitts are dry when you're using them so that you don't burn yourself. When working with a pot on top of the stove, let's pretend this is the top of the stove. Now here's the edge of the stove right here. We need to make sure that our handles are turned into the stove itself, not along the edge, because you might walk along there and knock it off on yourself, or a younger child might come along and pull down. So always make sure to turn the handles of your pots to the inside of the stove, or at least away from the edge. When working with small appliances, small electrical appliances, we need to keep many things in mind. I'm going to use this blender shortly for our smoothie recipe. But blenders can be dangerous because they have sharp blades. We have many different types of blenders on the market. Some fancy, some not so fancy, but you need to know how to use it safely. There should be a manual at your home that comes along with any small appliance that your family may own. So look at the blade inside of this blender. Can you see it turning? That's the dangerous part. And we want to make sure that we know how to take this blender jar apart in order to clean it. So we have the screw band here, we have the blade assembly piece here, and we have a gasket. This gasket is a rubber piece that prevents your blender jar from leaking. It goes on there. And it needs to be washed and cleaned after you use your blender. Then the blade piece goes inside of the screw band, and it attaches back by screwing it on to the jar, and it rests here in the motor. So now it's ready to be used. Consider this plug when working with any small appliance. This is where you're going to plug it into your socket, but you want to hold it by the plug itself. Many people will pull on the cord instead of the plug when they're plugging in or removing the plug from the socket. So be sure to hold it by the plug, not the cord, and either plug it in or unplug it. Make sure your appliance is also turned off when you plug it in. When you pull on that cord, you are weakening your wires that are connected to the plug, and it's going to shorten the life of your small appliance. So always work with the plug itself. I'm just going to leave that here and stop and come back with the green smoothie recipe. All right, this is the green smoothie recipe. So for this recipe, you need a banana, a cup and a half of pineapple. You can use fresh or canned. You'll need apple juice and fresh spinach. So I decided this recipe only makes 2 cups, so I think I'm just going to make 1 cup just for myself. So I'm going to divide it in half. So I'll be using half a banana, 3/4 of a cup of pineapple, a cup of spinach, and about a 1/4 cup of apple juice. I know that I like my smoothies nice and cold, so I'm also going to add some ice to it. So I'm going to use the smaller blender this time. You might have one of these at home, and you're welcome to use it, because I know this recipe is not going to fill up my large blender. So we'll just add about a cup of spinach to the blender jar, and half a banana. The banana is going to add sweetness. It's going to help to thicken the smoothie as well. It's going to give us some good potassium. This pineapple is rich in vitamin C. It's going to add some tang to our smoothie. And let's see, 1/4 of a cup of apple juice. That's about half of this. And I'll add some ice right on top. Alright. Let me move these out of my way. Let's see what we get here. Cubes of ice to this as well. Isn't that a beautiful green color? There is our green smoothie. Yum!